Hello there. It has come to my attention that the 5.3 video that was there before is not the same as the notes for this semester. So in order to restore balance to the force, this video will have the fall 2003 semester equations. The one in the previous video just had some equations that were a little more intense. I'm going to leave that one up in case you need some extra input on solving equations, but these are the new ones. So when we solve multi-step equations, our goal is exactly the same as it was when we solved single-step equations. The goal is to isolate the variable. So we want x on one side, or y, or z, or q, or p, whatever the letter is, and all of the numbers on the other side. Before we isolate, because remember, this is our goal. So before we do that, we want to check for like terms or operations. On either side of the equation. Once we simplify, once we combine like terms, then we can work to isolate the variable. So we'll start with the first one. The first one is 6x equals x divided, or 6 equals x divided by 4 plus 2. I don't have anything to simplify on the left. On the right, I have two terms, but this 2 is just a plain old 2. There's not an x behind it. So I cannot combine the 2 with the x over 4. What does that mean? Well, that means I can put in my wall and start working to isolate our old pal x. So the first thing I notice is that I have this plus 2 over here. Now, think about it this way. If you're unsure what to move first, should you move the 4? Should you move the 2? Go back to high school when you were living at home and your parents went out of town and you decided to throw a party. Well, this is you. This is your BFF. And the plus 2 back here, these are the friends that your BFF invited. When your parents come home early, who are you going to kick out first? Your best friend or your best friend's friends? Well, if you're anything like me, not that I ever did that, but if you're anything like me, you are going to kick out your best friend's friends first. So that's what we're going to do. We are going to kick out those extra friends. Now we have addition right here. So we need the inverse operation of addition. That means we need subtraction. So we are going to subtract your best friend's friends from the equation. 6 minus 2 is 4. Now it's just you and your BFF. So it's time to remove your BFF. This operation indicates division. The opposite of divide is multiply, so we are going to multiply by 4 on both sides. If it was a 12, we'd multiply by 12. If it was a 37, we would multiply by 37. Now 4 times 4 is 16. My 4s cancel out. They divide out really, but that's another lesson. We are left with what we think is our x value. Now to check it, we can go plug it back in. So we want to know if 6 is equal to 16 over 4 plus 2. Well, 16 divided by 4 is 4. 4 plus 2 is 6. So yes, 6 is equal to 6. We know we got the right x value. For the second one, I'm going to draw my line again. If I look on the left side of the equation, I have a negative 9x plus 1. I cannot combine the negative 9x and the 1 because the 1 doesn't have an x with it. So I can't do anything on the left. If I go look on the right, all I have is a negative 80. Even if I wanted to combine him with something, I can't because he doesn't have anybody over there. So we are ready to isolate the variable. Whoops. So this is you. This is your BFF. And this is your BFFs. So your parents come home early. The people you are going to kick out first are your best friend's friends. The opposite of addition is subtraction. So we are going to subtract them on both sides. That means that on the left side, we have a negative 9x. On the right side, we have a negative 81. At this point, guys, if you need that Desmos calculator, absolutely pull it out. Because if you make a mistake with your arithmetic, you're not going to get the right answer. Now it's time to separate you from your BFF. Anytime there's a number right next to a variable, it's understood to be multiplication. So we are going to do the opposite of multiply. That means we are going to divide, and you have got to take that negative with you. You cannot leave just the negative behind. A negative divided by a negative is a positive, so that means we're left with 1x. Negative divided by a negative is still a positive, so x equals 9. If you want to check it, you absolutely can. We'll plug it back in for the x value and see if both sides of our equation are equal. Negative 9 times 9 is negative 81. Negative 81 plus 1 is negative 80, and that is absolutely equal to negative 80. So, yes, 9 is the correct answer for our equation. This one is a little bit different. Still going to approach it the same way. We draw on the wall. Now, if we check to the left and to the right, we don't have any operations, any places we can simplify. Sometimes my students have a tendency to want to simplify that. They want to write it as v over 3 plus 3 equals 8. Don't do that. Work with it like it is. So, here you are. This time, you only have your BFF with you. Oh, no, you don't. Because here's your BFFs. We still need to get just you. So the first thing we're going to do is kick out your BFF's friends. This line indicates division. So the opposite of divide is multiply. So we're going to multiply by that denominator. We are left with v plus 9 is equal to 24. Now you are going to get left all by yourself. We are going to subtract out that 9. So we are left with a v on the left and a 15 on the right. We could check it. I'm not going to. I suggest you do. For number 4, I'm going to start with my line. Now, I don't see any like terms right away, but I do see this right here. I see these parentheses with a number right in front. That indicates that we need to use the distributive property first. So I am going to, for my first step, I'm going to bring down that 144. Then I'm going to distribute the negative 12 to the x plus 5. So I'll have negative 12 times x and negative 12 times 5. That leaves me with a negative 12x minus 60. Now we can work on separating all of our parts. The first thing I'm going to do is remove your best friend's friends. So the opposite of subtracting 60 is adding 60. That means you should have 204. Now we have negative 12 times x, so we want to divide by negative 12. And I'm not going to lie, I do not have 204 divided by 12 memorized. That's 17. You have everybody isolated. Well, you have the one you want isolated anyway. X is by itself, x is positive, and it happens that x is equal to negative 17. For 5, we don't have any more operations that we need to do. We don't have a distributive property, but we do have a whole bunch of negatives. So as I look through this, the first thing I notice is that in order to get rid of the best friend's friends, we are going to add 13 to both sides. So on the left, you have negative 9x is equal to negative 90. That's handy. This is 9 times x. So we want to do the opposite. That means we're going to divide by negative 9. So x will be positive 10. And you can check any of these by plugging the x back in. I suggest you check them. But obviously that's totally your choice. This one is a little different because we've got a fraction out front, but we're going to approach it the same way. We're going to add 4 to both sides. Now, I don't know how much you remember from when we solved one-step equations. But when we had a fraction as a coefficient, we multiply by the reciprocal. So that means we flip over the fraction and multiply by that on both sides. That means that x is going to be 70 over 2. So x is 35. For 7, the first thing I notice is over here. I need to use the distributive property, so that's where we're going to start. I'm going to put in my line. And I need to distribute the 6 to the 1 and to the 3k. Well, 6 times 1 is 6. 6 times 3 is 18, and I stick the k on the back. And I'm negative 18 minus 6k on the left. Didn't do anything, I'm just bringing it down so I can work with it with my newly distributed part. So I have several things I need to do. I need to move some numbers, I need to move some variables. I am going to move this one first. Do you have to move that one first? Absolutely not. That is just what I see. The opposite of negative 6K is a positive 6K. So I'm going to add 6K to both sides. That'll give me a negative 18 on the left and a 6 plus 24. Okay, on the right. Now, this is you. These are your best friends, so we want to move those first. This is a positive 6. The opposite of a positive 6 is a negative 6. So I get a negative 24 on the left is 24K on the right. This is 24 times K. So I'm going to divide out the 24 on both sides. So K is negative 1. Eight is a little bit longer. I'm going to put in my wall. And I don't have anything to do on the right, but I do notice that I have a distributive property sitting here on the left. So I'm going to start there. I'm going to do 2 times 4x and 2 times negative 3. 2 times 4x is 8x. 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. And then I have this negative 8 hanging out over here. I'm not going to distribute to him because he's outside the parentheses. I'm just going to bring my negative 8 down. Now we have some like terms to combine. I can't combine the 8x with anything, but I do need to combine the negative 6 and the negative 8. So on the left side, I have 8x minus 14. Now I want all of my x's on one side, all of my numbers on the other. I am going to subtract 2x from both sides. Do you have to start there? Absolutely not. You start where your little heart tells you to start. Now I need to move your best friend's friends. So I'm going to add them to the outside of the house. So I get 6x is equal to 18. Now, I only want to yell at you. I don't want to yell at your best friend. So I'm going to divide the two of you since you were multiplied together. That tells me x is equal to 3. Two more. I suggest that you pause the video and try these on your own, then see how you do. There's nothing to do on the left, so I'm going to rewrite it. I need to distribute on the right. So negative 4 times a positive 1 is a negative 4. Negative 4 times negative 6a is a plus 24a. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so it doesn't really matter which side we work on. I'm going to subtract 24a. Um, 24 minus 24 is 0, so I don't have anything there. I'm going to bring down my negative 22. Negative 24, or positive 24 and negative 24 cancel out again. So we don't have any a's left. The only thing we have is negative 22 is equal to negative 4. Guys, I don't know about you, but I'm pretty sure that negative 4 degrees is way warmer than negative 22 degrees. There's no way those are the same temperature outside. No way in the universe it's possible that negative 22 and negative 4 are exactly the same. So when this happens, you have an equation with no solution. Last one, I'm going to put in my wall. I noticed there's some distributed property on the right side. So I'm going to rewrite my left side just like it is. Negative 8 times 6 is negative 48. Negative 8 times 5 is a negative 40. And I'm going to get rid of that plus sign because I don't like double signs. It makes me twitchy. I want my ends to be positive. That's just personal preference. So I'm going to add 40n on both sides. So I have 43n minus 5 is negative 48. I'm going to add 5 to both sides. So I have 43n on the left and negative 43 on the right. Now I need to separate you and your best friend. You guys are multiplied together, so I need to divide you. So n is negative 1. I hope that you thoroughly enjoyed this as much as I did, and we'll catch you in the next one.